talking, Luke, about oh look, it's Ralph, my dog. I just was hanging out with Ralph a couple weeks ago at the Bridge the Gap show in Denver, and he's
up,
stoked
Ralph?
to see Luke. This is maybe your biggest fan, dude. Ralph loves you,
That's my guy.
He jokingly has been calling me when I've been subbing in for you with times like, oh, better looking Luke Patterson, just so you have the context of what he's trying to say here. And I'm like, I don't know about that, but been discussing with Tom why Von Miller should be ranked higher than Champ Bailey on Tom's top 100 list. Luke, I don't know how much you've been following that.
I have, man. You're going to get me in trouble with Tom on his birthday, Ralph. I'm not going to come at him like that today on his very special day. But no, I appreciate the love, man. I hope you had fun at the rock show, dude. I was on the road, but I was texting Chad before I got there, during and after. So I heard it was awesome. Here's the thing, man. Von Miller and Champ Bailey, they definitely deserve their rightful place in Broncos history. One is a Super Bowl champion. The other is not. That is just the fact of the matter. It hurts me. It pains me to say that. Champ got this close, and those damn Seattle Seahawks did their thing. In fact, Thomas Hall was in the building for Super Bowl 48. I know we're not trying to get after the big cat on his birthday, but I know that one stings a little bit. For me, Ralph, I know it's the homer in me. Champ Bailey's one of the best cornerbacks to ever live. I'm so sick of seeing this debate over Richard Sherman and Darrelle Revis on X, on social media. Who was the best corner? Was it Deion Sanders? And I got love for Coach Prime up there in Boulder, but no, none of those guys come close to Champ Bailey, 24. We know especially how good Champ Bailey was here in Denver because we immediately put those expectations on Pat Surtain, and look what the guy continues to accomplish at such a young age, man. So it's splitting hairs. Von over Champ on the list. I don't know, man. I'll leave that one for everyone else to fight. What a good fight it is.
I mean, my personal opinion I would agree with you, Ralph, that Von would be a little bit higher than Champ on my top 100 list, but that's only because the world championship, and not just that Von was part of a world championship team, but that he was like, if not the reason, one of the primary reasons that they hoisted the Lombardi in Super Bowl 50. And that was one of the heartbreaks, Luke, of the Champ Bailey era is, we never got that this one's for Champ moment. He did get to play, however, in one Super Bowl, as you mentioned, in Super Bowl 48. So anyway, I agree with you, Ralph. Von probably over Champ for me, but we're splitting hairs.
Don't you wish things were different with the way Champ's career ended? Obviously, we wish the Broncos won Super Bowl 48. Had they did, I don't know, Super Bowl 50 ever happens. I mean, you learn more from your failures than you do your successes, but it's just a bad taste in my mouth with the way Champ left, right? He was released and then kicked it around with the Saints for a little bit. Wasn't quite sure if he was going to make the team. It just was really ugly to see. I wish the Broncos would have transitioned him a couple years earlier into maybe a free safety role. He was that good. Maybe that was a bit of an insult. Maybe you couldn't do that. It gets a little touchy when you get to some of these aging defensive greats and even the offensive players. Chad, you remember when Jerry Rice was a Denver Bronco? I can't believe that. My dad had to take me. Neither one of us would ever believe it, but I saw Jerry Rice wearing orange and blue. It may have been for just 4 or 5 weeks in the summer, but still a piece of Broncos history.
Yeah. That's crazy. It is an interesting footnote. The last time I looked at his wiki, it wasn't even listed. Now I'm gonna check it out real quick, and I'm gonna do it from my phone so I don't have any issues here.
It may be, I don't know if he tried to retire before the preseason officially started. It may have been one of those things where it's only as official as the person.
No. It is on his wiki, 2005, but there's the asterisk that, of course, stands for off-season roster only. But yeah, that was a trip, and in hindsight, it made sense, right? Because they knew each other, Mike Shanahan and Rice, during Shanny's time helping him win a Super Bowl, that Steve Young Super Bowl. Shanny was in on that.
Yeah, man. Well, Mike Shanahan too, right? When do we got to get that guy into the hall? Tom and I are usually getting after it too, because Tom, as you know, is one of the biggest supporters of getting these Broncos who have been overlooked for years into the Hall of Fame. I got to ask him, what's up with your buddies who vote on this stuff? Why is Mike Shanahan continually getting the short end of the stick? I know the average NFL fan will say, Luke, you're just a homer. Calm down on that. The Broncos have been getting their due as of late. But can we just stop and get these guys in the Hall of Fame before something happens? Like, I don't know, they become 100 and pass away. I'm so tired of seeing guys not get their due, especially while they're alive. It's a moment that they should be able to celebrate with their family, the owners, the team, and the fans. Something I want to see with Mike Shanahan. He's not that 100 years old. No way. He's got that Corinthian skin looking nice and orange, silver fox now. But I need Mike Shanahan in the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later.
Dude, part of me, because, his last season coaching in the league, so his last official association in the league was the 2013 season with Washington.
Okay.
And so in terms of time spent outside the league to qualify for the Hall, he's past that mark a long time ago. Part of me can't help but wonder if it has something to do with how public his involvement with the San Francisco 49ers has been on an unofficial scale, right? Like going over cut-ups with his son, being a sounding board for scouting, There's all kind of rumors and different things. I wonder how much that's hurting him, but he belongs, dude. I mean, how many two-time back-to-back, let alone two-time Super Bowl winning head coaches exist? Not many. Shanahan's one of them. And not only that, dude, but his record as a head coach in the league will include his time with Washington. He's got 170 and 138 record. So that's a .552 plus 500. And then his postseason record, 8-6, and 2 Super Bowls as a head coach, Luke, 1 as a coordinator. And not only that, dude, but his whole offense, the offense that's the flavor of the day in the league, and it's been the flavor of the day for years now. Yeah, you trace it all the way back to Bill Walsh, but the Mike Shanahan stamp on that with the zone blocking aspect and all that, that's the flavor of the day, dude. Like, can you tell the story of the NFL without Mike Shanahan? I don't think so.
No, it's incredible. And that's really interesting. You mentioned that about Mike potentially being punished, if you will, for his alleged or lack of involvement, whatever we got to say with this San Francisco 49ers. It's something I haven't thought of, but you're exactly right. Politics exists in the NFL, in sports, in every aspect of the world. So I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I'd rather see it sooner than later. I mean, 72 years old. I want this man to be able to enjoy it. I want him to hang his hat on this. I want him to celebrate with the fans. Can you imagine? I mean, we've all been to some sort of these events. I don't know if you've made it your way to Canton yet. I have not, but I can only imagine, man. It's like one of those moments where you get a little emotional. You get a little choked up when you see Coach up there. I mean, this was the man I grew up watching Denver Broncos football. And I got a soft spot in my heart for Kyle because of Mike and John Lynch and the Broncos connections. And you're right. You cannot write the history of the modern day NFL without the Shanahans, without the Gary Kubiaks. You could go on and on down the line. And Sean Payton is part of that history as well, right? Couple Eastern Illinois guys, if memory serves right. And I think Tony Romo's in that as well. So it's cool to see that Jimmy the Broncos.
Jimmy G, he's the other one.
It's cool to see that the Broncos have mended some fences in terms of their alumni. And I know they're getting ready to have back together weekend on Saturday, July 26th.
Yep.
Keep your eyes open down there, folks. I know the Broncos got some open training camps, 13 practices open to the public. You never know who the alumni are that are walking around there. Sometimes those guys want you to know who they are. They're very flashy, and you'll know. Other times, you've been on the Berg. I've been on the Berg. Yeah. You never know who you're going to be rubbing elbows with. Keep your eyes open up there for some stars at Broncos training camp.
It's crazy so this year, in case you guys missed it, the Broncos, as always, they're not charging for fans to get into training camp. The tickets to get in are free. But this year, because of renovations and things still happening on the new facility that they're building there for fan safety, they're limiting the daily attendance to only 800 tickets. And so, we're talking back during the Peyton Manning days, Luke, like you'd have 3,000-4,000 fans out there on the berm. And it was like, man, the energy was wild, but this year it's very limited. So they made them available. I think it was last Wednesday. Pretty sure it was either last Tuesday or last Wednesday. Dude, they were gone by lunchtime because, they had certain strictures of how many to each person, this, that, and the other. Season ticket holders got first dibs, yada, yada. Dude, long gone. They're long gone. So hopefully you guys got a chance to jump on some of those free tickets because they're going to be hard to come by.
It's wild how it goes, man. Like last year, I had my own conspiracy theory hat on. I know, shocker, right? Sean Payton. Sean didn't want guys and gals out there, as many eyes as he could. He wanted to control that narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what's the easiest way to do that? Fire code. How do I know that? Used to work for the fire department. Got an old man who just retired. My dad's birthday today as well. Happy birthday, Troy Patterson. Huge shout
happy
out.
birthday, Mr. Patterson.
Very special day here in the Patterson family and on MHI, in the Mile High Huddle and MHI Insiders family. So yeah, very man, cool. It's just kind of interesting when we're talking Mike Shanahan, right? Well, Mike Shanahan, Sean Payton, I think they're kind of cut from the same cloth. I think Sean is equally as competitive as Mike. I also think with that comes paranoia. And I think Mike Shanahan, we all know the stories, right? Of the locker room being bugged, cameras around the facility. I'm not saying Sean's doing those type of things, but I got in trouble out there in training camp a couple years ago for posting a video of Garrett Bowles getting burned during team period and got quickly chastised by Broncos PR immediately. And I'm like, oh yeah, Sean's watching. And it's just kind of interesting, man. And did it bother me? Absolutely not. I am ready for winning. I'm not saying the Broncos are cheating or doing anything crazy out there, but you've got to be willing to check these boxes. And I know that was a concern when I talked to Broncos alumni out there a couple years ago. They're like, hey, what's stopping a scout from getting one of these open to the practice tickets for free for fans of AFC West division rival and coming out here and seeing what's going on? If I can take video, so could they. So I do think there's a little bit of gamesmanship to capping some of the numbers at these practices. Again, 13 open practices, the Walton Penner ownership group, they're not cheap. They're not charging fans or anything like that. This isn't Cleveland. This isn't Cincinnati. But I know you're super excited. Rookies Report Wednesday, July 16th. The Vets just a few days after on the 22nd. We are on the cusp of 2025 Broncos training camp.
And then it's off to the races. Let the games begin. I cannot wait. We got the Ronk checking in. What's up, brother? Great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight, my brother. Really good to see you. The Ronk, and then let me see here. Ralph just following up on his comment. One's the Vaughn versus Champ thing. One is a Super Bowl MVP. I love Champ, and I'm not taking anything away from his legend for sure. It's like you said, we're talking about degrees here. Everyone loves them both.
Number 24 right now for the Broncos.
24 is well, let me take a look, dude.
Because I'm trying to pull it up because it's a damn shame. Whoever's wearing it doesn't deserve to wear it. What I'm trying to say is that number needs to be retired. Nobody's wearing it. I'm pretty sure it's vacant.
Yeah, let me go by
23 and 25. We know Audric Estime battle for a running back position on this team this summer.
Yeah, you're right. Vacant.
Yeah, we'll see what he has to do. Blake Watson, there at 25. So I kind of like it. There isn't a 24 right now because it shouldn't be. Champ Bailey. I mean, Chad, I could remember, and Tom and I talk about this a lot. I was upset. I was a naive kid who didn't know what the hell I was talking about. We got rid of Clinton Portis for a cornerback? Are you kidding me? And my dad's sitting there like, boy, you got a lot to learn. And sure enough, man, Champ Bailey has turned out to be one of my favorite Denver Broncos of all time. So much so, I want his number retired. I'll start the petition today.
Dude, I'll never forget. I was utterly crushed because, dude, Portis wasn't just like a really good running back. This was a guy who, in his 2 years in Denver, was on a historic pace, dude. Like at the time, and I'm sure this has changed since then, but he became one of only 3 running backs. This is, of course, end of the 2003 season. He had become one of only 3 running backs in NFL history to rush for 1,500 yards in each of his first 2 seasons, joining Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson and at the time, Edgerrin James. Now, I'm not certain who else may have joined that rare club, but dude, when he was, and not just the yardage, dude, the touchdown. I mean, he was 14, 15 every season. And that was during a period when you had guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, dude, dropping 28, 29, 30 touchdowns. So you had to, it was an arms race, dude. You had to keep up. And they were thinking different, though. They were thinking, Luke, that, hey, we're going to, instead of fight fire with fire, we're going to bring in a defensive whiz, and we're going to shut down your passing game. And I remember his first couple of starts, but specifically Champ Bailey's first game as a Bronco. Shanahan had him running in motion on offense, running routes a little bit as a receiver, but that quickly kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah, Champ would beg for those opportunities. At least that's what I've read, right? Throughout Broncos history. And it's just so funny now that we're talking about Champ Bailey, because you're exactly right. I remember Clinton Portis was giving LaDainian Tomlinson, a run for his money. Priest Holmes was having an MVP caliber season early in the 2000s as well for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Man,
I mean, it's just crazy the way things work out. Boss Bailey spent some time, his brother, Champ's brother, for I think a season or two here. I think during the Josh McDaniels era, he was an outside linebacker, if memory serves.
I think 08-09 maybe.
Champ and Boss Bailey, another little piece of Broncos history, man. But how great is it now that the Broncos continue to stack up the cornerback position? I mean, we talk about the reigning defensive player of the year in Mr. Pat Surtain II and how well he is continuing his young career into 2025. What do the Broncos do? They double down with their corners. They say, you know what? We're going to get this kid out of Texas, Jahdae Barron. Chad, I know we're all excited. We've all had a little moment to think about it from the NFL draft. What do you think Jahdae Barron's expectations are, at least from Broncos country? Because Broncos country better see the next PS2 out there or something a little bit close, especially if Sean Payton just decided to swing for the fences at number 20 and go defense. When I was screaming, trade up, go get your guy. He's right there, Boise State. I wanted Genty so bad, Chad, as you know. And then Jeremy Fowler's out there reporting earlier this week, the Broncos considered going top 10, but it was just too expensive. What is so special about Jahdae Barron to Sean Payton?
Well, according to the Broncos, they had him rated as a top 10 player. Fully did not expect him to still be on the board. I think if he's gone, that probably ends up being one of the running backs or one of the next rated wide receivers. But the thing about Barron that makes him so interesting, you got to remember in the NCAA and FBS, where you had a Travis Hunter at cornerback just working miracles and doing all kinds of stuff, it was Barron who was named the best defensive back in the nation, getting the Jim Thorpe Award. And, he's 5'11". He's actually a little bit bigger than he looks in terms of length. And, dude, he can do it all. He can play boundary. He can play nickel. He could play safety if you wanted him to, but Sean Payton's already eliminated that publicly. We'll see if it's true. But the other aspect is he brings an actual ball hawk ability to the table, which the Broncos need in that secondary. You've got the pass rush. Last year, great, right? 63 sacks. You lead the NFL. You set a
franchise record over and over.
Great. Where the Sam Hill were, how did that translate in the takeaway game? Not as much as you would like it to. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is just kind of luck of the draw. Cookie crumbles a certain way. That's the way it goes. But Barron definitely gives you a better upside to take the ball away. So there's a lot he brings to the table. Plus, he's super smart, high character guy, high football IQ guy, like team captain. I mean, that's been one of the hallmarks of Sean Payton era Broncos draft picks is team captains. Football's everything to them. Eat, sleep, breathe it all. And, of course, the talent's got to be commensurate. And in Barron's case, it absolutely is.
That's just it. And you mentioned the pass rush. I mean, without the pass rush, how good is your coverage? Without, decent coverage, how good is your pass rush? When one of those units can't show up on one play, you got to make up for that. I'm really impressed going back and looking at some of Barron's game tape now that he's been here. This is a player I didn't even have on the Broncos radar, to be completely honest with you. And I have no idea what Sean Payton wants in an NFL draft. I have no idea what George Payton wants in an NFL draft. That is fairly certain after watching what these guys continue to do. They play it pretty close to the vest. Kathy, what is up, Kathy? Thank you so much for hitting up MHI on Wednesday night with Chad and I. We really, really appreciate you. What's up, guys? This is a rare combo, and I love it. That's right. Chad and I were just talking about this last night. I've been begging him for some of his precious time. His time is very, very precious, as is everyone's. That's why we appreciate everybody for tuning in. The super chats are welcome. Your time is even more appreciated. Thank you so much. And Phil McLaughlin coming right back in over on Facebook. Good evening, Chad, Luke, and Deacon Scott. Hey, guys, interesting question. Brought this up on an earlier pod. Would love your opinions. Broncos defense, Broncos offense. Who wins?
That's a good question, dude, because you think about it, last year, who would have guessed not too many people, even those with the orangest of orange-colored glasses, that Bronco offense quarterbacked by a rookie, Bo Nix, though he was, would finish as a top 10 scoring team in the NFL. Are you kidding me? Like, I wasn't expecting that, but thus it was. And then the Broncos finished top 10
Third.
in scoring, yards. Yes, scoring was third. Yards was like seventh or something like that. It's easier for me to call them a top 10 defense, but they were the third ranked scoring defense. So that's a tough one. I'm going to err on the side of the quarterback, though. I'm going to trust on the quarterback, even though people might be going, hey, no, what are you talking about? You got multiple all-pros on defense. They upgraded with Greenlaw. They brought in Hufanga. Nah, dude, it's the defense. I don't think so, dude. Bo Nix, some of the reports coming out this time around in OTAs, dude, like he's a dog. He's riding guys. He's jawing with his teammates on the other side of the ball in a competitively, fiery way, not in any kind of I'm being a a-hole kind of thing.
Is he getting crazy? Is he getting crazy eyes at anybody like the Raiders? Yeah, right. We loved Bo because Bo is so calm, cool, and collected. We didn't really know how to react to when Bo got fired up, right? I don't know about you, Chad. I was thrilled to see him yelling at Sean Payton the other day. I'm like, finally, these two are the same guy. They are so locked in and competitive that they had a moment. What do guys do? We yell. We raise our voice. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's who we are. We are human beings. I shouldn't even just limit that to guys, man. You're passionate about something. You've got an emotion. It's raw. Let it go every once in a while, assuming it's not inappropriate, assuming it's not going to hurt anybody. Let it go, dude. And I absolutely loved to see Bo Nix fired up. I'm excited to see what he can bring here. Phil, I will tell you this. I see where you're going, right? This is a kind of almost like a fun fantasy question. Broncos offense versus Broncos defense. I'm going to tell you for training camp, it's going to be Broncos defense. Why? Because the defense has an idea of what the offense is going to do, right? They're picking up tells all offseason. Nobody knows each other better than these teammates in summer. Now, I will also say this. Training camp and the plays, they're all tailored to the offense. So while the defense may get the upper hand, the offense should have the advantage, at least on paper. Nobody's going to be touching Bo Nix in training camp. If they do, God help you. Sean is going to rip you a new one. But these guys understand this is Bo Nix's team. I'm excited to see wide receivers versus cornerbacks. What does a Courtland Sutton look like against a young guy like Jahdae Barron? Who's Pat Surtain want to lock on? Devon Vele. I know a lot of people in the comment section. Hey, what's going on with Troy Franklin? What's going on with Devon Vele? Well, to quote Gary Kubiak, we are fixing to find out. I want to know what kind of offseason these guys have had. Marvin Mims, the expectation is there for good old Marvelous Marvin. He's an all-pro and a Pro Bowler for crying out loud. But who are the other wide receivers that are going to step up? They've got the best competition they could face in Pat Surtain, Jahdae Barron. I'm also wondering, what does this mean for Riley Moss? Jahdae Barron. Has that lit a fire under Riley Moss? We can all remember the Cincinnati Bengals game where he got picked on. It happens to every cornerback. I'm still a Riley Moss guy. I know you are too, Chad. But I think there's going to be a lot of competitive juices flowing down there. You may get a little wide receiver DB dust up. I know we stay locked onto the O-line and the D-line. Those guys are usually the ones scrapping. I wouldn't be surprised if we see wide receivers and cornerbacks go at it this summer.
Yeah, and you've got so many young wideouts just chomping at the bit, dude, like ready to take that next step. It's super competitive in the room. Yep. So if they're competing amongst themselves, that's going to come out in the wash when they're out there going 7-on-7, 11-on-11.
Bingo.
But, it's also a really fierce DB room, as you were saying, man. And I am still huge Riley Moss guy. And I'm still reminded of when the Broncos first drafted him out of Iowa. He and, of course, Mims, they were the top two picks that year. We didn't have a first-round pick in 2023. The first rookie mini camp, they're talking to Marvin Mims, trying to get a little information on him. And they start asking him about Riley Moss. What are your thoughts? You've been out there a couple days with Moss. He's like, yeah, I love him. He's great. But out on the field, he's definitely the kind of DB that likes to let you know he's there, make you feel him a little bit. So little extra love and touching this and that and the other after the, bump Indy after the whistle, walking back to your respective huddles. He might whatever. That's Riley Moss. He likes to keep it going. And dude, last year, that defense, that passing defense was humming. then he goes down and you're surrendering 600 million yards to Jameis Winston on Monday Night Football and went downhill from there pretty quickly. So I think people who are, and you know what, I've been in this business long enough to have plenty of freezing cold takes, okay? But I've also been in it long enough to know kind of a little bit more what I'm talking about. I don't see Barron supplanting Moss. I see Barron supplanting McMillan, at least in the early going. Maybe there's a chance that Barron starts over Moss when they're in their base, but Riley Moss, Surtain, that's your boundary. Nickel is going to be Za'Darius Barron.
Well, let's see Pat Bryant too, right? I know people are excited. I know you are. I am. Tom's curious about Pat Bryant, the Broncos' new wide receiver, 3rd-round pick out of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. Everybody got after him because he ran a slow 40, right? But this guy, his route running's pretty decent. He catches the ball at its highest points. He's a physical wide receiver. What does Pat Bryant versus Za'Darius Barron look like? Well, that's some rookie-on-rookie crime. I know you've got a 1st-rounder and a 3rd-rounder, but get used to it, boys. You're going to be lining up against each other. I think that may be a little bit more of a even measuring stick to start camp, and then you're going to see the vets start teeing off on some of these guys. You're going to see which rookies want to take it to the vets. Remember, Sean Payton has no problem playing rookies, starting, rotating. It doesn't matter to Sean. In fact, I think that's his expectation. When you come on this football team, you better be prepared. You better know what I'm demanding, and you better be ready to put out for me. That's what he expects of the rookies. And watching what Bo Nix did last year, Devon Vele, Troy Franklin, nice rookie season, I suppose, but we need to see more. How about Jonah Ellis? This is a pass rusher that had a stellar rookie season. Bloodlines, right? We're talking about Champ Bailey's, Shanahan's, everybody else. His father, former Broncos chaplain and also Broncos player for a certain time. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of optimism among the youth, and that's finally exciting because it felt like for so long, Chad, it was just let's bring in these vets. Let's kick the can down the road and hope for the best. The Broncos have finally been adding to their draft, so much so that it's time to pay some players. We just don't know who's going to get paid first. Nick Bonito? Zach Allen's already got a couple bags, right? Where do we go there? Courtland Sutton? Seems like we're talking about his contract every single summer. So these are big questions that remain unanswered. You can read about it over at milehighhuddle.com.
Honestly, look, we could break the training camp stuff down into the micro level, and we're going to continue, I'm sure, to do that on the podcast, especially leading up to camp. But to me, the biggest unanswered questions that when it comes to unfinished business, because these rosters, man, it's hard to find a weak spot on this roster. Again, and this is what I was trying to say when we started getting interrupted with the technical stuff earlier in the show, right at the beginning, is that it's just the unfinished business side of things. Well, the unanswered question really to me is just, when are you going to get on this so that the players in question, which are to a man, each key guys, so they can focus on the task at hand and play ball. And to me, it starts with Zach Allen, then Courtland Sutton, Nick Bonito, and I'd love your opinion on this, Luke. We might be divided on it. I believe that what we saw from Nick Bonito last year is the new status quo for him. Like, he turned a corner, he unlocked something. He's developing quite nicely, and it's not even my money. If I were in that room, I'd want to see him for like a quarter of the season, make sure that it wasn't a one-year wonder. I would have these big concerns in my head going, I don't want to pay him. And then all of a sudden we look like fools because he's Baron Browning all over again, or reverts back to pre-2024. So I would work with his agent. I'd start doing it now. I'd get the framework in place, and I'd tell Nick, hey, let us see it a little bit. We'll do one just like your Pard, just like Jonathan Cooper, in-season extension. Let us see it a little bit. Give us a little assurance. But then the argument to that, Luke, that I hear is, oh, well, every day that you procrastinate on Bonito, his price just goes up and the market value, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that pales in comparison to the tectonic franchise potentially altering risk of paying a guy huge multi-$100 million plus contract that falls flat on his face and you don't get a return on that. I'd rather pay possibly an extra little, maybe $1 million here, $2 million there, whatever, to have that peace of mind. That's me.
Yeah, what was the name? I'm totally spacing on it. That George Payton overpaid that Dallas Cowboys edge rusher and he barely made it. Yeah, So we got some PTSD from Randy Gregory. All right. If you're George Payton and if you're the Broncos and just in general, let's talk about overpaying pass rushers since Von Miller was here. Bradley Chubb. How about that one? Right. I mean, it's tough to find these guys. I'm with you, man. I need to see more from Nick Bonito, and Tom and I like to yell at each other over this topic on a weekly basis. Now, I'm going to say this. Jonathan Cooper's my guy. You know that. I loved him since the Senior Bowl. So I was super pumped to see Jonathan Cooper get a deal done early, and it feels like a value deal, right? Because he got what he wanted during the season, and it didn't cost you all that much if you're the franchise. I want to see more consistency with Nick Bonito. This is not disrespect. This is what it is. I don't remember Nick Bonito having much of an impact against the Buffalo Bills when the Broncos needed him the most. Hell, I don't remember the Broncos defense having much of an impact. The offense was atrocious. That's what happens 31-7, your first playoff game. So I'm with you, Chad. I need to see more out of Nick Bonito. Zach Allen, my Lord, he had himself a season last year. I would like to see. Yeah, I would like to see him get paid. He was arguably one of the MVPs on that defense as well. Think about everybody else's sacks and then think of Zach Allen, a la Derek Wolfe, Von Miller. Ralph Bracegirdle circling back around over on Facebook. Maybe tonight we go with Chad Jensen and the better-looking Zach all offseason. We've been shaking our heads at Pro Football Focus, and I cannot wait for this. Number 1 defense and top 12 offense to embarrass PFF. Chad, man, we're all human beings. We all have preferences. I know I use PFF when it works for me. You use PFF when it works for you. There are those that live and die by stats without any sort of context. Thomas has a really interesting project up right now, gridironintelligence.com. In fact, he just used it on one of his newest articles up at Mile High Huddle today. That's right. The guy, just like Chad and everybody else, working on their birthday. Go read why the Broncos tight end room may be a little bit different this year in terms of the impact and how Sean Payton wants to use it. PFF, man, it's tough. It's a nice resource. I know we love them when we've got the Broncos rated high, and we hate them when they don't have the Broncos on the list at all. It's that time of year, Ralph, so I'm with you, man. If it's time for the Broncos to have people eat crow, PFF could just be another one on the list. I want to see where the Broncos go in the AFC West in 2025. Remember, you have 3 playoff teams, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Denver Broncos, and, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. What are those damn Raiders up to in the desert out there? I don't know. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith getting in a little bit of offseason trouble. Like, I don't know what's going on in Las Vegas. I've got my eyes on those Raiders. You know, I can't stand them. But no, man, let's really make the NFL eat crow. You know how you do that? You go deep in the playoffs and you ruin other franchises' day.
Dude, it is weird. Like when I first started MHH, like 11 years ago ish. I can't even remember how old I am, but I'm pretty sure it's about 11 years ago. PFF was kind of a new thing, and it was beginning to grow a little bit of clout. We started using it from an editorial perspective. I went and got a subscription, started using the grades and putting them out each week, actually, after each game. And at the time, so this would have been maybe a couple of years now into MHH, yet like the 2015 era Broncos, like the 14, 15, let's just say it, the Peyton Manning era Broncos. I would get every week DMs, texts, Broncos, different players wanting to know what their PFF game grade was. Wow. And that's when I started going, what the hell's happening here? Cut to a couple years go by, and Luke, PFF became part of the tapestry that they can use for negotiating, like Pro Bowls, All Pros. I'm a top 5 player at my position on PFF. And for a time there was always questions on their grading system. It's a very, very mercurial. They don't talk about it. But beyond that, their advanced statistics have always been very helpful and informative, and especially for guys like us that cover the league, cover the individual team like the Broncos, it can be great. But I would say it's happened, Luke, like say over the last 5 years of PFF, when they got big time into the whole news aggregation king, when they wanted all the blogs and all the sites out there citing them left and right, they put out this ranking, that ranking, this list, that list. it became pretty clear pretty quickly that not too many people at PFF were very fond of the Denver Broncos. And I think some of the hatred that existed for Sean Payton, and I'm talking about the way he's kind of known for treating media during his time in New Orleans and during his time in Denver, combined, I'm about to serve this back to you, combined with, the whole Bounty Gate thing. There's a lot of people that still hold a grudge against him over that. I think that maybe has intensified things, but dude, the Broncos made all of those guys and Peyton, Nix, all of them made PFFs and outfits like them look like just out of their mind, incompetent fools. And I don't expect it, Luke, bottom line, to be any different this year.
No, I find it fascinating how the times have changed. Something tells me we're not going to be getting a DM from Bo Nix saying, hey, man, can you stick up for me a little bit more with PFF on my rating? I don't think homie gives a you-know-what.
No.
And that's what I'm here for, man. Like, it's a nice measuring stick. It's a nice resource. Again, there are those who live and die by it. That's cool. We use a lot of different resources, and we have so many different diverse philosophies within our team here on Mile High Huddle on how we watch film, who we listen to, who we watch. I mean, there's so many different resources. I would challenge anyone out there on any other publication. I think we have the most diverse set of writers that you could possibly get. Our styles are also different. I mean, you don't have to put a name on it. You could tell that these two articles are completely different based on who the author is. That's something that we really pride ourselves on here at Mile High Huddle, something I'm very grateful to be a part of, because if all you're regurgitating is one person's information, I'll just go listen to them. Like you said, I use PFF, you use PFF, we use it as a staff. It's a nice measuring stick. I'm ready to have PFF eat some crow. Glenn Ashley, what's up, Glenn? Over on Facebook, man. Appreciate you tuning in to MHI with Chad and yours truly this evening. Good morning, Chad and Luke. Broncos country, what's up? Happy hump day. Extend Zach Allen now. You let Nick Bonito prove himself for the first 4 to 5 games. Hashtag MHH for life, Denver Broncos for life, because this is a state of being. Glenn, I serve this back to you, Chad, and Broncos country. What's Nick Bonito's mentality right now? Because it's easy for us to sit here and say, yeah, go ahead and prove it. I put myself in Nick Bonito's shoes. A lot can happen in between workouts before training camp, let alone training camp, the preseason, and the first 4 to 5 games. I'm talking about injuries. I mean, what kind of assurances do you think Nick Bonito and his agent are looking for? I wonder if these conversations have started, because it doesn't seem like Nick Bonito's disgruntled. I'd have to go check his X account to truly know. But I don't know, man. I think if Nick Bonito was super unhappy, if he was frustrated, if he was telling the Broncos to kick rocks, we would all know about it. We would all be reporting about it, and this fight would wage on, especially here on Wednesday nights between Tom and I, between you and Zach. Do you pay him now or don't you? I just think if you're Nick Bonito, man, these conversations have to have been started, because he doesn't appear to be disgruntled, at least for now.
Well, the last thing we heard on the subject was right after the draft, or no, right before the draft, might have been the owners' meetings. George Payton saying, yeah, hey, all that stuff, as far as these extensions y'all keep asking me about, that's after the draft stuff, okay? So I got to assume that in the case of all of them, including John Franklin Myers, the conversations have been had. In Franklin Myers' case, it's probably a case of, sorry, dude, we'll take a look at you after the season. But in the case of Nick Bonito, again, I think it's encouraging. Let's get a framework in place. Let's start talking about what it would look like. And again, guys, I could be totally wrong. The Broncos might have seen enough to go, wow, we needed like the eventual successor to Von Miller, and maybe we have him. Not saying that Benito's on that level, but a true tier 1, top tier edge presence, pass rushing presence. Maybe the Broncos are head over heels. I mean, if you listen to what George Payton had to say about Bonito at the combine, I mean, it sounds like that's, at least he's saying those type of things. But when the rubber meets the road, George Payton is actually a pragmatist. And the latest evidence of that, Luke, was that piece that came out last week detailing the notes from Greg Penner during the Russell Wilson extension negotiations right after the trade. Penner's expressing in his notes misgivings about paying him now. Why not wait? Because he had 2 years left on his deal. And then George Payton going to Russell Wilson, who had asked for 7 years, $350 million, fully guaranteed. He said that, it's a non-starter. It's not going to happen. So Payton can be a pragmatic guy. In the case of Russell Wilson, Luke, back then, he wanted to keep him happy. He just gave up an arm and a leg to acquire him. He wants to keep him happy, but he had to tell him the truth. Look, that ain't happening right now. Let's figure out, something else. We'll come to the table on a different deal. In the case of Nick Bonito, though, hey, you're a big boy in terms of what's his mindset. Look, dude, you got cashews that clank. You made it this far. You're an all-pro. You're a Pro Bowler. Bet on yourself. Look what your boy Jonathan Cooper did last year. He wasn't sweating it. He kept his nose down, worked his butt off, double-digit sack season for the first time in his career. Broncos rewarded him halfway through. Keep the faith.
Yeah, well, and let's just go through it, man. My first Nick Bonito memory isn't a good one. You know why? Because when you're drafted here and in your introductory press conference, your GM, Broncos GM George Payton, the first thing he says about you is, well, I think he needs to get in the weight room. I'm sorry, but that's not what I want to hear from the Broncos' new pass rusher as we continue to search for the next best thing since Von Miller. And don't bring up Bradley Chubb. I know Bradley Chubb helped get Sean Payton here, but he just wasn't that guy. We need to see more out of Nick Bonito. First season, 1.5 sacks? That's not going to do it. Second season, 8 sacks. All right. 2024, you come on the scene. You're a candidate for most of the year for Defensive Player of the Year, 13.5 sacks, 1.5, 8.0, 13.5. Yes, you were trending up in sacks. Yes, you are a playmaker. Yes, you absolutely dominated your edge along with Jonathan Cooper and the rest of that Broncos defense last season. We have to see more. We cannot afford to get burned. The nice thing about Payton, if you will, George finally has a man with some experience that he can bounce things off. There's no more stubbing your toe with the Russell Wilson deals, the Randy Gregory deals. No more of these. Sean's in charge, and I think Sean and George have worked surprisingly well. I didn't see this working. As soon as Sean got here, I'm thinking, George is canned. Wow, yeah. How long until the press conference, right? No, right. Sean saw something in George that he wanted to work with, and George has been touted as the scout of scouts for as many seasons as he's been with the Broncos. Hell, for as long as he's been in the NFL, and there's a lot of respect there in the scouting community for George Payton. How good of a GM is he? I don't know, because we don't know who's truly doing what in that building. All I know is that Sean and George continue to trust this process that they've built. And look, the guys and gals that are getting hired with other opportunities on other football teams are a result of this marriage between George and Sean Payton. So it's working right now. It's interesting to see who's going to get paid first. I'm curious what the vibe is in the locker room too, because right now, at least it appears, everybody's happy with each other. But Nick Bonito and Zach Allen, they're watching each other's timeline trying to figure out which guy's going to get the bag.
You know what's even crazier is I was going to do an article looking at like which players are the Broncos getting the best value, yada yada. So I go to Spot Rack, and my article ended up morphing into something entirely different, and it was about the biggest question leading into training camp. But Spot Rack, which is like Over the Cap, for those who don't know, they give you cap information, contracts, some of the details, nitty gritty. Well, they have a feature called market value, and you can look at a player, what he's making, and then what his value on the open market in their estimation would be. And there would be a time, Luke, where I would doubt what I'm about to tell you. But when Spot Rack was estimating DJ Jones' market value before free agency this year, north of 11 million, I was like, dude, they're tripping. He's not going to get that. He got it from the Broncos 3 years ago, but has he lived up to it? I'm not so sure. Nah, dude, he crushed it. He got exactly basically what they were projecting as his market value. Courtland Sutton, Luke, projection as far as a market value of the guys we've talked about tonight, Sutton, Allen, Bonito, he has in Spot Rack's estimation the highest estimated market value at a contract averaging per year 26 million and change, followed by Bonito, followed by Allen. So
no way. Your
Sutton,
top 3 guys.
The top right 3 there. Guys. Well, just in terms of the 3 guys we're talking about.
Value. Here. Right.
So Sutton seeking, could you see Sutton getting a contract when it's all said and done from the Broncos? Or maybe they don't this year and it's from someone else next year. 26, I mean, that's $100 million just over if you got a 4-year deal. I think they estimated a 3-year deal. So, do the math, something like 78 million or something.
Absolutely not. I don't see that. I'm so sick of this conversation, if I'm going to be honest. And is it Courtland Sutton? Aren't the Denver Broncos? I mean, let's figure this out this year. So we're not talking about this in 2025, 2026. Look, 29 years old, was drafted way back when in 2018, 40 overall out of SMU. I mean, man, those days of Emmanuel Sanders and Courtland Sutton throwing water bottles at each other during training camp, it feels like just yesterday, right? No, man, Courtland's a little bit longer in the tooth. That being said, Courtland had arguably his best year last year with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. How does Bo Nix feel about things? Obviously, Bo's not in charge of the contracts. Bo doesn't determine who comes and who goes, but that man's influence is quickly gaining steam, and he's getting more influence in that building, I would imagine, because he's the guy. Does he want Courtland Sutton to be his guy, or have the Broncos put some other players in the place to succeed Courtland Sutton, or succeed Courtland Sutton rather? I don't know. I don't know if Devon Bailey's ready for that. I know Troy Franklin's not ready for that. Pat Bryant, what do you look like as a rookie? I mean, you've only got a couple X wide receivers that I could think of, the true body type with Devon Bailey and Courtland Sutton. Lil Jordan Humphrey, I'm sorry, that experiment is just about up. I can't see it. I can't see the big payday coming with Courtland Sutton. I don't know if they want to try to do another 1 year or 2 year deal to try to at least appease him. But Courtland needs to take the hometown discount if he wants to stay in Denver. If not, demand a trade, get out of here, and we'll wish you well. It's no beef with Courtland Sutton, and I sound like the biggest Courtland Sutton hater, and I'm not. I was super impressed with what he did last year with this rookie quarterback. But if we're being honest, Courtland Sutton hasn't lived up to what he thought he would be because the Broncos didn't live up to their end since 2018 in finding a quarterback. So is it Courtland Sutton's fault? No, not necessarily. Timing of these things, changing of the guard, it's weird how it works out. Mike Evans, I don't know, were they drafted around the same time? He's a little long in the tooth down there in Tampa Bay as well. Totally different type of wide receiver, game changer. He's out there on one leg with a bad ankle and another torn quad, and he's still a red zone threat. I need to see that level of toughness, that level of command from a wide receiver that I'm going to pay $26 million.
The one thing, I hear you on that. The one thing I loved about Courtland Sutton from the time he arrived, and this is what honestly led to the dust up with Emmanuel Sanders, was he was an alpha right out of the gates, dude. Like, I'm the man. Oh, I got to learn behind Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Okay, I'll do that. But, like, just letting you guys know I'm coming, dude. Like, I'm coming after you. Like, I'm going to be in your spot. And 2018, you know, they trade Demaryius Thomas halfway through the season. Sanders sticks around through the end of that year. But by the end of that season, dude, like, he was right. Sutton was starting and Sanders was gone after that. And he goes on to have a Pro Bowl year in year 2, catching passes from 3 different quarterbacks, one of whom is a rookie in Drew Lock. But I agree with you, dude. The quarterback stability situation has not favored him. That combined with the knee injury in 2020, you know,
the head coaching turnover. I mean, that's right there hand in hand.
Let's call it organizational incompetence up until 2023. 2023, Peyton gets here. Things start looking up for Sutton, though. Yeah, he didn't get over 1,000 yards in 2023, but a career high, 10 touchdowns. And then last year, he gets back over 1,000 with Bo. So I think you're right. Like, in a vacuum, if he were to hit the market, I bet you he could make something close to 25, 26 million, depending on the structure. But, dude, just take a team-friendly deal so you can stick it out. You are entering with Denver. You're entering your age 30 season. Now, the only little devil on my shoulder on that, Luke, because I share a brain with you on that, is he did take, at the time, he did take a team-friendly deal in his second contract. So he might be saying, hey, George, I know was it George? It was George.
It was George. It was the same time as Tim Patrick, and I threw an absolute fit.
So it was post Elway as GM. Hey, George, I already took a little bit of a haircut for you on the last one. Now is when I'm going to be asking you. I'm not saying that's what he's saying, right? But I wonder how much of that might factor into the conversation.
Yeah, and look, Courtland Sutton's at a different time in his life right now, Chad. He got married last year. I assume he wants to start a family. I don't know. It's just a big assumption, speculative. Why? Because I know family's important to Courtland. And you said it, Chad. He's a good dude. Courtland doesn't get in trouble. He is beloved by this fan base. He does a lot of work in the community that is very quiet. He doesn't boast a lot of the things that he does. And he's beloved in the locker room. He's a team captain year in and year out. Let's not forget that. There are some games where he gets ghosted a little bit. I'm thinking of the New Orleans Saints Thursday night football matchup from last year, where I don't think Courtland Sutton was logged as having a catch or even a ball thrown his way. It was just kind of a weird game, a weird feeling. Who knows what the emotions were going into that game with Sean Payton, who obviously wanted to stick it to his old team, Spencer Rattler. The rest is history down there on Thursday night football. But Courtland's a good Denver Bronco, and I would love to keep him, but it's got to be for the right price. And Phil McLaughlin weighing in on Facebook. Thank you so much, Phil. You're super active. Good to see you, man. I hope that Pat Bryant becomes the replacement for Courtland Sutton. Yeah, shouldn't this have happened a few years ago, Phil? I mean, we keep talking about the organizational failures of the Denver Broncos, inconsistencies, whatever we want to call them. Just change your synonym. The Broncos haven't done a good job at farming a new X-wide receiver to replace Courtland Sutton. That's why the Broncos and Courtland Sutton continue to find themselves at this impasse year after year, kicking the can down the road because they both say they want to commit to each other, but when it comes to the money, they don't quite want to get there. So let's continue to do these safe little deals and then, oh, next year. No, next year's up. You've got a 30-year-old wide receiver that was drafted in 2018. You either are part of the future plans now and for the next 2 to 3 seasons, or you're not. And George and Sean need to have those conversations. They need to look Courtland in the eye, and Courtland needs to figure that out with his agent as well. Do you want to be a Denver Bronco long-term? Yes or no? If you think the Broncos want to make that happen, if you trust that they're committed to making that happen, why wouldn't you if you're Courtland Sutton? It has thus far, right? These little 1, 2 year, 3 year deals, they keep happening. Go ahead. Let's try it. If not, then move on. It will be best for all parties. But Pat Bryant, yeah, let's see what you got in training camp. You're up, young man. You know that Sean Payton believes in vet days. He doesn't want his guys taking tons of injuries out there. He wants to heal guys where they can. I could totally see an opportunity later in the summer, not to begin camp. It has to be earned with Courtland Sutton, but maybe Courtland gets a vet day and we put Pat Bryant in with the ones. Let's see how much you've been reading the playbook during the summer. Let's see who is studying during the 4th of July weekend coming up here in a couple days. Who's getting ready for training camp? These questions are going to be answered sooner rather than later in training camp.
Guys, by the way, we're about out of time, so this is your 2-minute warning. Last call for any burning questions. Supers, get them in the chat now. But Luke, on the subject of Bryant Sutton, they have some things in common beyond just, hey, we're both wide receivers and we both play for the Broncos. There's a coach by the name of Justin Stepp. He was Courtland's position coach at SMU, and he was Illinois' position wide receivers coach for Bryant's last year with the Fighting Illini. And he said earlier this year, right after the draft, in fact, I want to say it was maybe Nick Kosmider of The Athletic had this. He said that, quote, talking about Pat Bryant, this coach said, quote, he's just like Courtland, close quote. And if you look at the measurables, it's similar. I mean, Courtland's 6'4", Bryant's 6'2", 6'3", something like that. I don't think Bryant has the same ability. We'll see. I mean, time will tell on this, but from what I've seen of him, his tape at Illinois, go up and turn those 50-50 balls into 60-40 or better. That Courtland, that's one of his saving graces as a guy who, okay, we're going to double team the Bronco. We're going to double team Sutton with a corner and a safety over the top. The only way a guy like him who's not super fast and not a super proficient route runner, to defeat that is lob it up and let him go get it. And that's not always the most advisable thing to do, obviously. Bryant, what did Sean Payton say about him? The two things that jumped out to him about Bryant, aside from the intangible stuff, the leadership, the team captain stuff, the eat, sleep, breathe football stuff, the football IQ. As a player, what did he say? He's super explosive off the line. So he gets off press, he gets into his route quickly, and super reliable hands, especially in traffic. He was easily the most reliable receiver in this class. He only had one drop last year. I'm not sure the parallels are that obvious in terms of Courtland Sutton and Pat Bryant, Luke, but the one coach who happened to coach them both as college athletes says Pat Bryant is just like Courtland Sutton.
Listen, catching those passes over the middle, sign me up if that's Pat Bryant, because that's something Courtland Sutton has done particularly well. And you go back to last season, Courtland Sutton had 57 first downs, career high for the guy heading into his 8th year this season. Okay, so sign me up for a physical wide receiver. A lot of times people think physical wide receivers are the ones that like to get handsy with linebackers, DBs, safeties, what have you. No, a physical wide receiver for me is a guy that doesn't mind getting after it. And what does that mean? Getting hit. How hard can you get hit? How much courage do you have when that linebacker's just waiting for you? I mean, sign me up, because that's something I've never had to question with Courtland Sutton, not once. The guy's football tough. He's iron strong, if you will. I know he had a little bit of an injury history there a little bit back, but you know what? Once he finally took those god-awful leg braces off and could run, he's wearing Garrett Bowles' leg braces for crying out loud, driving me crazy. Tom can tell you all about it. I screamed about it all summer at training camp. But no, Pat Bryant, we're going to see what that looks like. We're going to see what these rookies look like. Troy Franklin, what have you been doing this offseason? You've been hanging out with Bo? Well, I see Bo going to games with Frank Crum, right? What kind of offensive line mix are we going to get for the second strings? Are we going to get some first reps from a guy like Frank Crum out of Wyoming? I'm excited to see that. We know Bo's been hanging with him. He's bays with Bo, so that'll work. But no, it's super exciting times. And speaking of exciting, Andrew Baker, what's up, Andrew? It's been a minute, man. Thank you so much for joining Chad and I here on Wednesday nights MHI. What's up, guys? Chad, Luke, and Scott, my fam damnly. We may not have all superstars, but I believe these guys are going to produce the best that they can. Mile High Magic is coming back, baby. Correction to that, Andrew. It's already back, man. Your 2024 Denver Broncos were in the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. That is some Mile High Magic. This fan base conjured it up under one Sean Payton, Bo Nix, and dare I say, a Vance Joseph defense that is the creme de la creme. I never thought I would say that, Chad. There's a method to Sean Payton's madness. He kept George when no one else would. He rehired Vance against all of our cautionary warnings against it. Sean must have a little idea of what he's doing. The proof is so far in the orange pudding.
Andrew, dude, you're one of the OGs. It's really good to see you. Hope you've been well. And you're one of those guys, you want to talk about Mile High Magic coming back. You're one of those guys, I mean, all Broncos fans suffered through the depredations of post Super Bowl 50, all that stuff. But you're one of those guys that kept it, burning each and every year. You were there through some of the worst of it, the 2020 season, 2021, 2022. It was pretty brutal, man. And so you'd be one of the first guys I think of when I think of how I agree with you. The Mile High Magic has come back, what it means to the fans, finally getting that lift, finally coming out of wandering the NFL desert for the last preceding 8 years. And I agree with you, dude. Not only is it back, but Broncos are about to kick it into a new gear. But guys, we're out of time, dude. This has been time flies when you're having fun, Luke. And real quick, also props to the Ronk. Thank you, buddy. Great to see you. Of course, thank you for being with us. But Luke, I can never remember what everybody's sign-offs are. So thank you for having me, dude. It's been so fun to chop it up. I'll let you sign off on your show.
No, Broncos country, I appreciate you guys being patient with me the last couple weeks. Many thanks to Scott, to Chad, to Thomas Hall. Happy birthday, Tom. Appreciate you guys. Some exciting moves and news and things like that for my family coming up here in the near future. I'll be really excited to share that with everybody. So thanks for being patient. Guys, head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Check out our latest. Chad's got a couple of really, really great articles up right now foreshadowing training camp. Tom's got an article about Broncos tight end utilization, a really, really fun tool. I know we got a lot of PFF fans in the house. Well, enter Gridiron Intelligence. You'll be really excited. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com. If you'd like to reach out to Chad on X, please do so at Chad N. Jensen. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Give our pod a follow as well on X. That's at MHI_pod. We would appreciate any review that you leave, whether that's on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, anywhere you get these. Spotify. We really, really appreciate everybody's time. A fun show. Chad, we got to do this more, man. The football season is right around the corner. The people are always asking for fun and different combinations on these pods, and that's what we're doing here right before training camp. And we're looking forward to a really exciting season here at Mile High Huddle, guys. 2025 is upon us, and we cannot wait to rock with you. Broncos country into training camp. This is the way.
This is the way.